Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me. How are you?
Of course. Glad to be with you. I'm doing well, thank you.
Thank you. So I know that time is an issue,
I see
so
all those Emmys in the back. I'm a little intimidated.
oh,
Wow.
don't, the regional news.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Congratulations
much,
to you.
sir.
Quite an honor.
Thank you. So let's get start right to it, sir. I know school is in session currently, but we're already looking ahead to back to school this fall, especially with the news that the Pfizer vaccine is looking likely to be approved for children as young as 12. Can you please speak to the Department of Education's plans for a safe return this fall?
It's critical that it's safe. Listen, I'm a father before anything else, and that's the role that I relish the most. And I wouldn't put my children in harm's way, risk their safety. So safe reopening has been the key from day one. And what we're finding is with the rollout of vaccination, with the with the new guidance from CDC, we know that, and with the data that we're seeing that show that schools are not places where there's spread happening if the mitigation strategies are followed. I'm really confident that we should be open now for in-person learning for all students, and it could be done safely. But I expect that in the summer and in the fall, that our default is every day in-person option should be offered for every student.
Wonderful. Now, are there any plans to use the public school systems to offer greater access for vaccinations? Or are there plans in place to use the actual buildings, for instance, to help vaccinate children?
Thank you for that question, Jamie. And it's a great question. I think we really need to rethink schools.
Sure.
You know, schools are the hub of the community. One thing that we don't talk a lot about is that our students and staff missed a sense of community this past year. You know, that's why the President of the American Families Plan is really big on ensuring community schools, and through our budget process, community school growth, because we know schools are that hub of the community. For many, they trust their child's teacher the most, and they trust their child's principal the most. So when you talk about surveillance testing of COVID or vaccination distribution, it is logical to make schools a place where we can consider doing those events. I visited Boston recently in the Help Is Here tour, and I saw that they set up a vaccination site very close to a school in the community, and that helped parents feel more comfortable. So it's a strategy that I would totally support. I spoke to a governor recently about considering that same thing that you brought up, utilizing those schools for places to provide vaccinations if possible. And I think it just makes sense.
Great. Now, is there a future that you can see where being vaccinated would be required to attend school?
You know, that's been a topic of conversation in many places. And I know, you know, many universities have required that. I think at this point, I really feel it's that I'm going to leave those decisions to my partners in Health and Human Services. You know, CDC and our health experts, that's their expertise. And I want to make sure that they're weighing in on that. I'll take care of the education piece of it, but we'll work closely to make sure that we're doing our part to reduce transmission and to make sure that schools are safe, not only for our students, but for our staff.
Yeah. Now, I would imagine that the Department of Ed, since the pandemic began, has been learning so much about how to operate safely during a pandemic. Can you speak to how these lessons that you've already learned will be applied going forward?
Thank you. You know, I think part of what's helped schools reopen is just listening to other schools that are dealing with the same problems, right? We learn best from one another. So what we've tried to do early on is not only listen to our stakeholders, to our educators, to our principals, superintendents, and put together handbooks, which we have. We have 2 versions out. We have a 3rd one coming out very soon. But we've had summits where people can come together and share best practices. And we're lifting up those best practices so that people can learn from one another. We also have a best practices clearinghouse. And there we asked around the country, what's working with reopening? What are you finding to be successful? And you know, we got over 1,100 entries.
Wow.
And we vetted them. Yeah, it's great. We have 200 right now that we put up on their website, and more are going to be coming soon. Because as you said, it's important not only to know what works, but also to share it, because there are a lot of communities that are struggling with some of the same things that other communities have already problem solved.
You said that's on the website. Is that available for everyone? Would parents be able to access that, or is that just for educators?
Listen, I would love every parent across the country to get on there, find a great practice, and then go talk to their school community to say, how can we do this? It's for everyone.
Great. Now, if you could speak directly to parents, what do you want parents to know?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. Parents, we talk about how the education profession has been turned upside down, but parenting has also. And as I said earlier, I'm a father. My wife and I, we have 2 high schoolers, and I don't want to go too far into this response without acknowledging the challenge it has been to be a parent during this COVID pandemic, and to also be like a co-teacher, because for so many of our parents, it's, my kids are in high school, they're pretty much independent, but we have so many parents that have a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old that needs support, and you've had to balance so much. And I want to assure the parents that their children's health and safety are first and foremost on my mind, and that their social emotional well-being, their emotional health is critically important for me as well. As we bring them back, we want to make sure that the resources are there to provide a program that not only gives them the academic support that they need, but does it in a nurturing environment where they feel welcome, they feel safe, and they feel supported.
Now, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish I did?
No, I just think, one of the closing thoughts, I guess, is to just assure our families and our parents that, this pandemic brought out challenges that we've had in education before. It just exacerbated them.
Yeah.
We know some students have more access than others. We know some students were impacted not only by the education disruption, but by losses in their family, because the pandemic hit some areas harder than others. And it's really going to be a process, but we're eager, and there's a sense of urgency in our agency to make sure that it's not just about turning on the lights and making sure the desks are clean. It's really about providing a program that accelerates learning, gets students engaged with one another, and as I said before, addresses the trauma that they've experienced. And it's going to be a long-term process. And then lastly, for the parents, we need you. We need to do better connecting with families, especially those families that maybe don't feel as comfortable connecting with the schools. Let's make this a new day. Let's make this a new relationship where we're listening to you more. Our schools are listening to you more. We have to do better to serve your children better. So I want to lock arms in partnership and say that together we're going to get through this the best we can. But your voices are critically important to that mission.
Well, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. I think we're at time, unfortunately.
Thank you, Jamie.